Okay. Chapter 8. Room of the Tree. What's that first word?
No.
No!
No.
No! Cried Jack. Jack ran to Beauty and yanked hunks of paper from her mouth. Annie dropped to her knees and picked up the torn pieces strewn around the camel's big feet. The treasure's ruined, moaned Annie. Jack was stunned. I shouldn't have left my bag here, he said. No, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have gone back and bragged to those kids, wailed Annie. I should have acted more humble, like Merlin said. Annie sounded like she was about to cry. It's okay, said Jack, but he knew it wasn't. The book was destroyed. They'd failed in their mission.
Well,
Maybe we can fix it, said Annie. Jack shook his head. No, we can't,
torn.
he said. It's completely destroyed. It can't be fixed.
Well, they could.
They can?
Yeah.
How? How could they possibly?
They could use one of their magic rhymes.
Ooh, well, let's see. Jack shook his head. Let's see. Annie looked up. Wait, what did you just say? She said. I said it can't be fixed, said Jack. A big grin crossed Annie's face. Right, it can't be fixed, she said. Help me gather up all these pieces. Why, said Jack. Had Annie gone nuts? Just do it. Quick, said Annie. Jack and Annie rushed around the stable, gathering up all the torn pages. Now pile everything over here on top of the cover and give me the book, said Annie. What book, said Jack. The rhyme book, said Annie. Oh, said Jack. Right. He reached into his shoulder bag and pulled out Teddy and Kathleen's book of magic rhymes. Jack opened his book and read down the list. Here it is. Mend what cannot be mended, he said. That's the one, said Annie. Jack flipped through the pages until he came to the rhyme. He held up the book so he and Annie could both see. Standing in a shaft of sunlight, Jack read in a loud, clear voice. Heal what is broken beyond repair. Annie read the second line. Ave Brial, fin amer. The paper bits fluttered. They began to swirl off the floor. They swirled up and around as if they were caught in a small tornado. The tornado captured all the torn pieces in its funnel and twisted them together. The pages swirled into a blur of blinding light. And here's a picture of what's going on.
What in the world? It's like a book. Whoa. What a tornado. It's like the pieces coming out of it.
Jack shielded his eyes. He heard a loud woof. The bright tornado had vanished. Lying on the floor of the stable in the front of Jack and Annie was the ancient book. Holding his breath, Jack carefully picked up the treasure. He opened the leather cover. Oh, man, he whispered. Aristotel's priceless words of wisdom were neatly written on the yellow pages. There was no sign of rip or tear anywhere. Thank goodness, breathed Annie. Yeah, said Jack. So what do we do now, said Annie. I don't know, said Jack. What's the next thing Merlin tells us to do? He pulled out Merlin's letter and read, Beneath birds who sing in the room of the tree, greet a friend you once knew and a new friend to be. What's that mean, said Jack.
A new friend you once knew, which is my moon.
Ah, suddenly Jack heard someone behind them. He and Annie turned around. A girl was standing in the doorway of the stable. She wore a long white gown. Her hair and face were hidden by a veil. Hi, said Annie. Who are you? I'm a servant of the palace, the girl whispered. Come. She motioned for them to follow her. Let's go, Annie said to Jack. Where is she taking us? Asked Jack. And why is she whispering? I don't know, said Annie, but I feel like we should follow her. Okay, said Jack. He put the book of wisdom and the book of magic rhymes into his bag. He slung the bag over his shoulder and followed Annie and the servant girl out of the stable. The three of them walked through the courtyard and through the palace doors. They walked down a wide candlelit hallway over a thick woven carpet. At the end of the hallway was a tall carved door. A boy servant stood by the door. He wore baggy trousers and a long shirt. His face was almost completely hidden by his headcloth. He did not speak or look at them. The servant girl stood close to Jack and Annie. In her strange wispy voice she said, "In front of the chair, bow to the floor. Do not look up and do not speak until you are spoken to." "But what?" said Jack. "Go quickly," whispered the girl. The boy servant pulled open the heavy door. The girl servant pushed them into the room. "Wait," said Jack, but the boy servant closed the door behind them, leaving Jack and Annie alone. "Jack, look, we're here," said Annie. "The room of the tree." Jack turned around. A giant tree stood in the center of the room. And look at this. Wait, let's read a little bit more about it. It had silver leaves that fluttered as if blown by the wind. Mechanical golden birds sang tweet tweet from the silver branches. Here is the tree with the big chair. There's Jack and Annie. There's the chair. And here are branches with mechanical birds singing tweet, tweet, tweet.
What if they were in color? I wish they're color. Ooh. I wish they're color. I wish they were color.
You wish it was color, not just black and white? Yeah. Beneath the strange tree was an empty black chair. Jewels sparkled in its shiny wood. "We're in the right place," said Annie. She quoted from Merlin's letter. "Beneath birds who sing in the room of the tree, greet a friend you once knew and a new friend to be." "Another mystery solved," said Annie. "Yeah, not really," said Jack. "We're the two friends." "I don't know, but we better bow in front of the chair like that servant girl told us to," said Annie. Jack and Annie knelt in front of the shiny black chair. They bowed their heads to the floor. Jack gripped his bag with the treasure inside. "Remember what else she said?" Annie reminded Jack. "Don't look up and don't speak until we're spoken to." "But there's no one here," said Jack. He felt foolish, bowing in front of a chair, listening to the chirping of mechanical birds. "Why are we doing this?" he wondered. The door opened with a low, creaking sound. Jack squeezed his eyes shut. He heard footsteps moving past them. "How did you get into the throne room?" a deep, gruff voice asked. "A servant brought us here," said Annie. "And why have you come?" asked the voice. "We have priceless treasure to give to the Caliph of Baghdad," said Jack, keeping his head down. "It's a book of wisdom." Jack fumbled in his bag and pulled out the book. He kept his eyes tightly shut as he held the book up toward the voice. There was a long silence. "We hope it will help the Caliph spread wisdom to the world," said Annie. "How did you come to be in possession of this book?" the man asked. "We were helping a friend," said Annie, "and we got separated in a sandstorm." "And then I suppose you brought this book to Baghdad to gain a reward," said the man. No, we didn't," said Jack. "It was our mission to give it to the Caliph." "Surely you must be seeking some payment in exchange for this treasure," said the man. "Would you not like precious perfumes gathered from the sweetest flowers on earth?" "No, thank you," said Annie. "Rubies as large as hen's eggs?" said the man. "No, thanks," said Jack. "You would not accept the book's weight in gold?" said the man. "We don't need a reward, really," said Jack. "Since he likes books so much, why don't you just tell the Caliph to use his gold and rubies to buy more of them?" said Annie. Again there was silence. Then the man cleared his throat. When he spoke, his voice was gentle and familiar sounding. "Look up at me, Jack and Annie," he said. Jack opened his eyes. He slowly lifted his head. First he saw gleaming gold slippers, then a long white robe with gold trim, then a familiar face. Jack gasped. He couldn't believe his eyes. The man wasn't a scary person at all. The man was Moon!